thinking about my relationship with my wife this morning, and I think that's where I see the biggest impact of our work this year, is that it's taken me from an area of fear and frustration with my career that lapped over into neediness or expecting her to be a bigger partner than, I don't know, but it just, I think it put undue demands on our relationship. And what's shifted for me over the past year has been a confidence to know that I can do whatever I want, and it's just about me and my relationship to myself. And that has taken a lot of pressure off our relationship in a way that she's showing up with fun. We're having a lot more play, and it was worth it just for that.
Wow. Oh, my.
Yeah. And we've been married 28 years, and I'm not going anyplace, but it's just, it feels like the last 6 months especially have felt like when we were dating.
Wow.
And it's because of the work you and I have done. I was making a living at voiceover, but was overwhelmed by the details of it and was actually losing interest in being a performer as my occupation, because it just seemed like the stuff was getting overwhelming and I wasn't able to get any traction. And then the other part of that was, given that I had some vision for where I wanted to go, but hadn't really been able to get toward that in the last 4 or 5 years, and was actually kind of losing belief in myself that I could even get there.
Why did you think of me, or why did you feel that this would be a good working relationship?
Well, I listened to your Feeding Your Focus CDs a couple of years ago, and what I really liked about your approach was that it was hands-on. It wasn't rah-rah. It was, okay, this is the problem, and this is what you can do to solve the problem. And I want to know what to do. I'll do it if I know what to do, but sometimes I get in those spaces where it all looks like just a blur. So the short answer is, you had nuts and bolts ways to make an impact in the Feeding Your Focus CD, and I thought that would translate very well into coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I said to you that my program was taking clients through a whole year, how did that initially strike you? Were you like, a year? Can't we do this in a couple of weeks? Or
no, actually, I was comforted by that, because I realized that it wasn't a quick fix, and I didn't want somebody that said, "Oh yeah, this is what you need to do. We'll give you the steps to do it," and then that stuff just, it's great for a couple of days, but I need somebody in the trenches with me, because as I found out this year, a lot of the things that I was attempting to fix didn't need to be fixed. And a lot of the things that got fixed in the past 6 or 8 months were things that were aha moments for me. Like, wow, this is really wasn't even on my radar.
Can you give an example of something that you were like, oh, I thought that definitely needed to be fixed, and it actually didn't?
Yes, I thought that my problem was marketing and finding new clients and things like that, because I thought that what I had now wasn't it. It wasn't right for me. And what I actually found out is that I've got more than enough work. It was how I was approaching the work and how I was organizing the work that had created the dissatisfaction in my life.
And then can you give an example of something that was like, oh wow, that was actually helpful, and I never thought that we would go there?
2 things. Number one, I guess I didn't get how just organizing my space would free up energy for me. that I was actually getting stressed out walking into my office because of all the junk around. And then the other part that was really surprising to me is that I had been holding in some wants. I work with a partner, and I was kind of frustrated with the fact that we seemed to be working on demand of the client rather than training the client to work with us in a schedule that's less stressful and works for us as well as them. What you showed me was that if I knew what I wanted, it was an easy conversation to have with both my partner and my clients. For instance, I want to take a 4-day weekend once or twice a month. To me, that would have relieved a lot of stress. And I had been avoiding having that conversation with my partner. And once you and I talked about it and got clear on what the request was, and once I made the request to him, it was like, wow, he was on board too. And he was actually asking me if he could have certain days of the month off too, because he liked it.
Because I was really afraid he was going to be like, who's this Kristine woman?
It's working out great for both of us because my partner, Kip, is less stressed. He gets to do his fishing when he wants to, and it gave him a sense of freedom also.
So we haven't even finished our year, but looking back over the last 7 months or so, what were some of the highlights that made this program worthwhile?
There were a lot. A big one for me was that I had taken an audiobook class with Pat Fraley about 7 years ago and made my demo, and then was fearful about just breaking into it because I thought I didn't have the character skills. So I retook Pat's class last year and got another demo, but still had that same fear. And through working with you and using one of your resources, I was able to see that whatever I've got is good enough, and it's about being a good me, not worrying about whether I'm going to be as good as anybody else there. And the end result was that I ended up last year with my first 3 audiobooks on Audible, and I've got 2 that I'm getting set to record this month too. So I'm like, that's a concrete example of a goal that I wanted, and through the skills I learned with you, I was able to walk toward that goal.
And an interesting thing, too, in this past 7 months is that was definitely a goal that when we first talked, you articulated. But a goal that you did not articulate is, Kristine, I want to go on a plane, which I don't want to do, and I want to attend a conference for voiceover artists, which I really don't want to do. But the art of voiceover is a very isolating art at times, and I felt strongly that I wanted you to start to gain a sense of community. And so I suggested to you, hey, there's this event that a lot of high-functioning, top-level voiceover artists attend. I think you should. Can you take people through hearing that and what your initial reaction was, and then the experience that you had?
Yes, and I think that that's one of the great joys of working with you is that every time we talk, you come up with something that I never would have considered. In the short time we've been working together, I've learned to just trust and step into it, and it will be okay. It's safe, So I'm kind of isolated in Houston and read about all these voiceover people, but really don't know them. So I guess I really didn't want to know them either. I didn't know what, it's like the guys that I hang out with and women that I hang out with around in Houston tend to be kind of, it's either let's complain about there's no work, or let me tell you about all the work I'm doing and you'll feel bad that you're not doing as much work as I am. So that was really what kept me from really wanting to meet anybody else in the industry. Plus, the other thing is I just don't like to fly,
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, no, and that's just a secondary thing, but I guess it's a nice example of what I've learned from you. It's about looking at the goal and just putting one foot in front of the other. As I was thinking about that today, it's like, it's a really simple concept, but unless I had you holding my hand, so to speak, I wouldn't have done it. The simplest steps are sometimes the most confronting. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I went there, and it was very eye-opening because it gave me a perspective of who I am and where I am, and I'm in the right place, and there are people that understand what I'm up against, and I understand what they're up against, and there is a community of ego-less voice talent out there that I can support, and that if I need that support, they're there for me.
I was so happy you did that. And the running thread through all of this is your willingness to implement, because it doesn't work unless you commit.
What was really great about working with you is that you come to every call with a laser focus. And for the 7 months that we've been working together, I feel like I'm your only client, and that you have nothing more important in your life to do than help me and take care of me. Mm-hmm. And that is a gift that I could never have imagined would be part of this coaching. And for me, many times it's been the best part of the coaching.
Wow.
It seems to me that a year is the minimum that someone needs to commit to this. I just think that so much popped up after the first, for me anyways, so much popped up after we looked at what I thought I wanted, that if it was any less than a year, you wouldn't have the opportunity to, okay, try this and make an adjustment here and kind of tweak it to the way you need it. I mean, I'm already looking at, okay, so what are we going to do in year 2?
I love it.